Hello everyone and welcome to Walford Weekly, your EastEnders podcast where we will be discussing the stories that were aired on the BBC in the UK on the dates between Monday the 15th and Friday the 19th of February 2021. And Rob is back again to join me to rifle through the stories this week. Hello Rob.
Hello Alex, how are you this week?
I'm alright, yeah, not too bad. It feels like ages since we last spoke.
I know, yesterday.
Yes, hopefully now, listeners, you'll be able to hear Rob a little bit better. And apparently a lot of them would much prefer to hear just you on the show. So I'm pleased.
I sincerely doubt it. I sincerely doubt it. Yeah, we had a few. You should have, I mean, honest to God, listeners, you should have heard us last week. We were literally, well, how long was it? About an hour before we started recording last week.
Running around like a headless chicken. It was awful.
And neither of us considered the fact that I might have gone quieter on my side. We were just trying to deal with sound interference and all of that sort of thing. All very boring stuff. Yes. But ultimately, none of it worked.
It really didn't. And and how we solved the problem was that we discovered that Rob's headphones have a microphone in them.
Who knew? Who knew?
Who'd have thought it? So this professional setup is really showing its true colours this week.
It's no wonder the BBC is contacting you all the time, is it?
Constantly. Phone call after phone call. Can you please do our audio on EastEnders this week?
Oh, all right then.
I mean, I feel ashamed to ever make fun of audio on EastEnders ever again after the shambles that was last week. Hey, you know what? There has been a big news story dropped this week. So should we have a little bit of a chat about it?
Oh, go on then.
So quite a surprising casting has come through. Terry Cant, who is Sonia's dad, who she was searching for just before lockdown happened, right at the beginning of the year. Remember that? Right at the beginning of the year of
Vaguely.
2020?
I thought I dreamt it.
Yeah, well, gosh, a year ago. Sonia was looking for her dad, and we all thought the story had just been dropped, quite understandably, because of everything that had been going on. But no, it was always in the back of their minds, and they had Brian Conley in their mind to play Sonia's dad. Brian Conley, for anyone outside the UK, is a comedian who is probably best known for his jokes.
It's a puppet!
And was it Dangerous Brian when he played a stuntman and his ears used to wobble in the early 90s?
Oh, yes. I'm just looking at, I went on to Brian Conley's Wikipedia page, which means obviously everything on here must be true. He's been acting since the 70s, and he's done like a few bits and pieces, but nothing I don't think that you could consider to be like a huge role as Terry Cant is going to be. Also, how long is it going to be before one of us accidentally says his name wrong? That's my other concern.
It's a really tricky name.
It's an unfortunate name.
It's
an unfortunate name.
It feels really tricky to say. It doesn't feel right. I like the surname Cant.
You certainly can't say it with a London accent, so that's going to be interesting. Let's hope him and Mick never have a scene.
What do you think will be the character? Because we don't really know a lot about Terry Cant, other than what has been said in the past by Bianca and Carol and Sonia. Dug up a few quotes that had been said by Carol and the cast, and from the impression that you get, he's not a very nice character. He's ugly. Apparently, Bianca said he was once ugly.
Oh.
Carol mentioned that she'd been knocked about by him as well, and that
they won't go to that.
And he was quite flaky. He's quite flaky. He would just basically just run away at a moment's notice, and wouldn't really care about the carnage he'd leave behind. So, what do you think these character traits will be introduced alongside new character traits, or do you think they'll just forget about everything that was said in the past?
Forget all about them. Brian Conley is, a comedian. He's quite a London-like comedian. I would argue that what we're going to get is sort of like an older version of Alfie, I think. Just like a sort of quite a cheeky, go-lucky bloke who is a bit rubbish at being a father, but on the whole is an all right bloke. I can't see them introducing... God, let's be honest, we don't need another psycho. We don't need another wife beater. I think that what we're going to get is a kind of likeable rogue.
I mean, he's obviously had a bit of time off the square. He's never been on the square. He's had a bit of time. He's had a bit of time out of Sonia's life, and I suppose people change. It's just, they had already built this character in the past, but then, I mean, that was in the 90s. I don't suppose he's really been mentioned a lot since then. So I suppose he's a clean sheet, isn't he? He's someone that John Sen can kind of manipulate and mould the way he would probably want the character to be.
I mean, I'm all for it because, it gives Sonia a storyline, which seems to have been quite lacking been for a few years now. So I think it'd be nice to give Natalie Cassidy something to do. And I'm pleased that they haven't forgotten about this story because it was genuinely intriguing. It felt like a little bit of a cliffhanger at the end of series 1. And then, like you say, it was just seemed to have been completely forgotten about. So I'm glad that they're bringing it back.
It gives Sonia some purpose on the soap. She's gone away for a bit of a sabbatical to India. And when she comes back, do you think she's going to come back with her dad, or does her dad appear when she's returned?
No, I think Sonia's going to return like all meditated and all of that kind of thing with a new lease of life, having, taken in India's culture. She's going to come back all chilled and zen and all that sort of thing. Right, I need to find my dad now. I'm going to go connect with my father. Let's talk about this week, shall we, Alex?
Let's do that. So the first story we're going to discuss is that Ruby's secret is out. Well, it's all kind of gone.
She's actually pregnant.
She's actually pregnant, to her surprise, to Stacey's surprise. It all started because Iqra, in a bit of a bad mood, decided to tell Martin that the job that Ruby had on her club was insurance fraud, and that it was Vinny, and that it was, it was all down to Ruby while he got hit round the head in what is now the Suki Mart. And Martin doesn't really know what to make of that, because he feels like that he's just got a new family, and it's yet another situation where he's going to basically lose out on having this family unit again because someone's lied to him, because he's been lied to a lot in the past by people who he thought he could trust and love. And so he almost doesn't want to believe that Ruby had carried out this attack on him, albeit not purposely meant to be on Martin, because Martin was just there at the wrong time. But he feels bad that at least Ruby hadn't even admitted to him that this was up to her to begin with.
Yeah, it was a surprise, I think, to see that Ruby was actually pregnant, because there was this, I loved it Friday. The scene between her and Stacey on Friday, it was brilliant. Stacey kind of works out that she might be lying, which, given the evidence in front of her, wasn't difficult to come to. Her and Kush kind of go to the club.
Yes, because Kush had said that he was paid by Ruby to take Arthur away as well, which was quite a revelation for Stacey. And so she's seeing all these bits and pieces about Ruby that she's not, she doesn't trust anymore, because then Stacey looked up and said, well, she had me beaten up. I didn't know Stacey knew that she knew Ruby had paid someone.
I can't remember how she worked that out. I have a feeling that she literally just sort of put the pieces together and worked. I think she knew on the night as well, didn't she? Because she was trying to get into the club when Kira found her.
Yeah, I remember that. I just don't remember her saying it out loud, as it were. So, but I suppose it doesn't take much to put two and two together and work out Ruby, is it? Really, it was obvious that it was Ruby who had done it, because on that night, Ruby had deliberately tried to keep hold of Stacey's kids so they could have a movie night at the Ruby's.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
While she sat there looking at her text messages, grinning like a Cheshire cat, proud of herself that she had someone who she considered a best friend at one point beaten up.
Well done it. Stacey storms around to Ruby's with the solid evidence in front of her that Ruby is lying about the pregnancy, and decides to and has got a pregnancy test with her. And they go into the office, and Stacey slams a bin down on the desk. Right, in that test yourself. Brilliant, loved it.
I mean,
imagine like trying to humiliate Ruby there and then. It was brilliant.
Well, I'm glad it was like a proper bin, because imagine if it was one of those like waste paper baskets. Yeah. Be leaking all over the place.
Just kind of running around the bin trying to hold the test out as it leaks everywhere.
Kush had some dignity, because Kush said, I don't want to bear witness to this. I don't want to watch a woman.
Part of this.
Yeah, I don't want to watch a woman pee in a bin. So I'm going to go out and have myself a drink. And Stacey was like, no. I mean, do you think Stacey was a bit over the top? She could have let Ruby.
Loved it.
You wanted Stacey, because Stacey, I suppose, how could Ruby been able to get like a sample of urine like straight away?
Well, the thing is, I think Stacey was that convinced that she was lying. I don't think she thought that Ruby was ever going to do it, because I think what she was expecting was for her to just kind of badger Ruby into telling the truth there and then. For her to go, all right, I'm not pregnant. Here's 20 grand, keep your gob shut, or something, I think for her to actually have done the test and then be pregnant, Stacey was rather flawed by that.
Well, Ruby, that's the point. Ruby thought she thought she wasn't pregnant. She thought the game was up. And before she revealed the test, before she even looked at the test, she said to Stacey, it was like, do you remember when we were friends and I didn't mean to do anything to hurt anyone? And, you know, you're lucky you've got your whole family around you. You still have support networks. You have people who love you. I don't have anything. Everyone who I loved has died. My sister, my dad, my mum. You can understand why I've put myself in this very extreme situation. And then,
oh my God, I'm pregnant.
And then, yes. And then immediately she was like, I'm pregnant. And I thought that was a really good, because it was almost like Ruby had conceded at that point that she'd been found out. And then the news came that she was actually pregnant.
Never mind, as you were. It just, it's so, I mean, it just sort of make you wonder sort of what the point in the whole her pretending to be pregnant thing was, when she was literally just going to be pregnant a couple of weeks later. But, you know, I'll brush that under the carpet. To tell you what it does do, it clearly shows that those iPeriod apps work a charm, don't they?
Yeah, they certainly do. But she was also taking those strips, wasn't she? Where they were specialist strips.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, I didn't understand what they were.
Well,
I understand that they're a thing. I just don't understand the technicalities.
I think they're to help you become pregnant, and Dottie had seen them. So obviously Dottie must have realised, well, hang on, if you're already pregnant, why do you need these specialist fertility strips in order to help you get pregnant? So obviously Dottie is the secret keeper, isn't she? She always has a secret on someone.
She knows everything.
And no one ever believes her either.
No, Ruby should have wished that I worked for her, because I'd have walked in and saw them and assumed it was some sort of ovulation thing and just never thought about it once ever again.
Yeah, no, I know. All
right, woman things. Okay, fine.
Martin seems to be getting further and further distant away from Ruby. Not only because that he doesn't actually really want to have a child with Ruby, but now he's found out that secret and he doesn't know quite what to believe anymore. Do you think now Ruby is genuinely pregnant, and so she can now use this against to keep Martin? It's not against Martin. That seems a bit cruel. Do you think this is good? This is a game changer now for their relationship?
I think what's interesting now is, I think Martin was sort of coming round to the idea of Ruby being pregnant while she wasn't pregnant and was pretending to be pregnant. But now that she's actually pregnant, he has found out that she's been lying to him and doing all sorts behind his back, and now she is pregnant. He's going to want to back away from the idea, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because obviously if she had still been lying about the pregnancy, that's another problem for Ruby. But she could throw this back in Martin's face and say, well, I am actually pregnant, so I'm
not going to lie, I'm a bit disappointed, because I was really looking forward to like a 9-month epic long pillows under top, Ruby pretending to be pregnant, and then Stacey becoming pregnant at the same time at some point. Ruby sort of being forced into like getting fatter and fatter and fatter as her plan disintegrates around her. I was quite looking forward to that, but sadly not to be.
Talking about Stacey, or Lacey Turner more specifically, there was a lot of comments on Twitter this week saying how it was quite obvious that she was pregnant, and they weren't hiding that. Yes, and they weren't really hiding that very well.
Honestly, Lacey Turner is like a member of the royal family, popping out babies left, right, and centre. She is. Bless her. She's had her second baby now, though. She presumably does go off. It won't be for long.
Do you think they could have used Max's leaving this week as a reason for Stacey to have left? Because they seem to be cutting it fine again for Lacey Turner's exit.
Yeah, I don't know quite what they're going to do for Lacey Turner's exit. It might just be, because I don't honestly think that she's going to be off for that long. It might just be that she just doesn't appear for a few weeks and then comes, and then, you know, one of those sort of block storytelling things when it just isn't the Slater's turn to be on screen.
Yeah, I know.
And they'll just cover it with that.
Yeah, they're not in rotation. Yeah, I think
I wish that they do that instead of the palaver that we had last year with that epic long saga about Martin turning evil and whacking Phil over the head and all of that kind of thing. Lacey Turner is never allowed to have a baby again if that's the stories that we end up having.
Yeah, Stacey ended up dating some guy she saw at the school gate. I mean, that has all been completely
forgotten about,
brushed under the carpet.
And that's fine with me, frankly.
But Lacey Turner loves working on the show, and to be fair, she did come in now and then when she was on her maternity leave to kind of do bits and pieces. So I think you're right. I think she'll be more keen to come back a bit quicker this time.
Such a hard worker, Lacey Turner. Love her.
She's fantastic. Keep her. Hopefully Stacey will be on the show for a long time coming.
Yes.
From a relatively fun story to one which I could have done without, to be perfectly honest with you. And that is Super Peter running around the square naked. I know, just kind of being a complete and utter prat, trying to gain Ash's affections. Ash initially wanted to get back together with Iqra, but Iqra had deleted all the socially distant photos from her laptop and she wanted nothing of it.
There is no polite way for us to discuss this. It was absolute stallwater, this story. It was arse gravy of the worst kind. Peter and Ash have gone out for this night out. They've had an all-nighter. Peter decides well, I haven't managed to get laid with Ash all night, so this is basically it. It's as shallow as this.
Yeah.
He then says, right, come on then, we're both hungover, let's go for a run. If anyone ever suggested that to me, by the way, after I've been for a night out, I would have floored them there and then. Are you mad? Are you mad?
An absolute dry slap round the face would have been
like, no, just go away. And then Peter, for some bizarre reason, goes, right, well, I'll do it naked then. Or no, what was it? Ash says something along the lines to her, I wouldn't even do it if you were naked and doing it, or something ridiculous like that.
Okay. Which
gives Peter the idea, well, maybe I'll do that then. And then Peter literally turns into Johnny Bravo. Like, hey, mama. And just literally, but not even that far off. Like, he gets naked, runs around in the square, flexes his muscles, kisses his muscles. Stacey's having a great time, by the way, looking at her and just perving over. Go on, Peter. And, like, the whole square is going mad and filming him and all this sort of thing as he's sort of running around with a cape. Why was he wearing a cape?
I don't know.
Do it properly, mate. If you're going to run around naked, don't wear a cape. That's not, not all naked men wear capes. No naked man wears a cape.
Not all heroes wear capes.
Exactly. Not all naked heroes. And then what happens is one of the things that makes me genuinely angry in soaps. It winds me up because it just feels like I'm having my intelligence insulted. He falls over and knocks himself out.
Yeah, you do that. You do hate a head injury, don't you? You hate a head injury.
But like unconscious. It's like, remember a few months back when Keanu had been kidnapped and Sharon and Karen went to find her, and Karen and Sharon started arguing, and Sharon slapped her, and all of a sudden Karen was unconscious on the floor. I hate stuff like that. Really annoys me.
Or the CD player on Jack's head.
Yeah, all that sort of thing. It's like I said this before. Do you know how bad it is for you to be knocked out?
Well, Peter had full-on concussion as well. I mean, Bobby's anxiety levels was already quite high because he saw he saw his brother running around like a pillock around the square, and then all of a sudden,
he's nude again.
Not again, Peter. And then count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then he sees his brother basically in a daze on the sofa. Really unwell, and Peter describes his pain as being 11. It's like, for
being God's 11, and stands up and is like, "No, I'm fine." No, I'm not. And collapses back on the sofa again.
Does my
the next time we see him, he's actually in hospital.
Yes,
like all collared up, stretched up, like so he can't move.
That's what's so funny about it. He was 1 minute he was on the sofa, just kind of like cartwheeling his way around the square.
All right,
and then the next minute he's then on. Yeah,
he's braced.
Like body
as if they were about to perform some life-saving operation on him.
Like he was signing his name with a pencil in his mouth to give consent to have this thing put in his veins to make the pain go away. It's like just
he was on his way to Dignitas. I needed Dignitas after this story, to be fair. And then the madness doesn't even end there, because he's moaning that he's in pain. And Ash,
like
who is
wimp, wasn't he? After he ran around trying to show his masculinity.
After he's the one that put himself in there. I don't even understand. What did he fall over? He just literally fell over his feet and knocked himself out on the curb.
It was a bin bag. He fell over a bin bag.
Yeah, so he's in hospital going, I'm in so much pain. Ash is there, clearly still drunk. Like the pair of them are still quite drunk / really hungover / under the influence, basically. And this nurse comes in and goes to give Peter some morphine because that's how much pain he's in.
He fell over a bin bag, everyone. Just remember.
Over a bin bag, but he needs the highest class of painkiller you can possibly get. Like the stuff I had morphine when I had a kidney stone, Alex. Like that's how much pain I was in, and they gave me morphine. Great stuff, by the way. I recommend it. It's excellent stuff.
You and Peter should have a chat.
Yeah. I guarantee that's going to be Peter's next addiction. This nurse is about to inject him with this hugely addictive painkiller, and then gets a note on a pager, has to leaves the morphine needle there with Ash and Peter in the room. And he's like, can't you do it? I'm in so much pain. Can't you do it?
But he was screaming, wasn't he? He was going, please, Ash, I'm going to die. It hurts so much. Please, Ash, I'm dying.
Mama. And then Ash goes, for God's sake, fine. Injects him with the morphine while she's still under the influence. And then this nurse comes in and then looks surprised and outraged, but the nurse goes, yeah, well, you're suspended.
There's one hell of an investigation going in a minute now. Yeah, it's terrible. Absolutely.
It was exhausting.
Terrible. It was exhausting.
Tuesday's episode ended. I was kind of just staring at the screen like, why? What did I do to deserve that? I must have been a I must have been an evil person in a past life to have deserved that half hour of my life.
A lot of people must have done something very wrong to
Very
get the karma,
wrong.
to get the
Very
karma
wrong.
that was the backlash of that Tuesday episode.
Honestly, that episode should be put in the Bible for an example of God's punishment to humanity.
I wouldn't mind. I genuinely wouldn't mind if they decided that episode never happened and it was deleted from every consciousness. Of...
But this is the thing, though. He'll be fine when we next see him. Like, you know, when borderline coma, he'll be fine with me. He'll be running around. I bet the next time we see Peter, he's out jogging.
Yeah,
Guarantee it.
Yeah, with a plaster on his head. A Donald.
One of those cross plasters that they give. One of the cross plasters that they give to people when they've had head injuries. Ian had one. Phil had one. It's Peter's turn this time.
Yeah, he'll be scratching his head, going, "God, it really hurts."
This morphine's really high.
Get me some Anadin extra.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, it'll be a turning around to Rash. Can you get some more morphine from the hospital, please? Right. So, cutting through all the rubbish that this was, what I would like to actually talk about is Ash and Peter's relationship. And because there is something there that's worthy of discussion, and it's the fact that, you know, Peter clearly considers himself to be this absolute stud muffin.
Yeah.
Nobody does what he did on Tuesday and doesn't absolutely love themselves, let's be honest. I would really like it to be that Ash never sleeps with him. I know it's not going to happen because she clearly can't resist him. But I would like Ash to be sort of, no, I don't fancy you. Stop trying to sleep with me. Go with my mum, I don't care.
Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, I wouldn't mind Peter almost to spitefully then sleep with Suki and actually end up that being a kind of relationship between them. But I think at first, when Peter was running around the square and doing his whatever he was doing, I think Ash at one point was going a bit like, oh, actually, he's a bit of a joke. He's a bit of a card. I wouldn't mind. But then after the hospital scene where Peter was just a prat, and he did say at one point, he was going, oh, but Ash, it's because I love you. And that's the reason why I was doing all this for you. It's because I love you. So give me the painkiller.
As though he just saved a pensioner from an oncoming train or something.
I know. Yeah, this is my point. Peter is no hero. And he, in his mind, thinks he is the blooming king of everything. And what's worse is that the poor old Bobby, he's having a hard time of it. And Peter just doesn't care. And that's the thing really grinds my gears.
Yeah, this is the thing. Let's just be fair. This incantation of Peter is an arsehole.
Oh, 100%.
He's really not. He's not a likable person, which is fine. You know, if that's the character they're going with. Guess what? We're stuck with it, so it's pointless us complaining about it. Because this is the thing. There's gonna be something that try and makes him likable again, isn't there? Like, whereas they're going to attempt to give Peter some sort of story where we're like looking at him going, "Oh, Peter, what's he like?" Eh? And it's like, no.
I think that they wanted Peter to come in though and be a likable character. I think they. I feel
very hard, did they?
Well, I feel like they did. I think they thought that everything they were doing was making him likable. I really do. Okay, yes, he was a bit horrible to his dad and to Bobby, but I think at the time we were meant to think, well, I don't blame Peter in a way because Ian has been a bit of an a-hole, and Bobby is a bit difficult to deal with. Fair enough. So Peter must feel a little bit stuck in the middle, and we've discussed this before, where Peter feels like he's from the outside looking into the Bill family. Yeah,
I've always understood Peter's viewpoint when it comes to the Lucy stuff. I get that completely. That's fine. It seems that Peter's motives are always all over the place for me. And I don't mind him being, as much as I've just completely slated the story, I don't mind Peter being this sort of a-hole sort of lad around women. Because that's fine, because people like that exist. That's fine. And normally, it's people who look like that, who are all muscly and sort of like feel like they're flawless, who tend to be like that. Fine. That sort of human being exists, so why shouldn't they have representation on soaps? At least it's a different sort of character.
Yeah.
Just do it better.
I agree. Just do it better. But that's what I mean. I think a lot of people like characters like that who are a little bit cocky, good-looking lads, and so
I think he's got fans.
I think he does have fans, but I don't think I think they're only like him for his one personality trait, and that is that he has a very good-looking body. Don't get me wrong.
No, he did go up a few notches. I mean, as much as I was hating the story, I was kind of like, I just watched the scene on mute. I'll be fine with that. Thank you very much. New Zealand gives you chest hair. Have you seen this bloke now? Like, he's got this. Dale Hudson's got a lot of it's quite hairy on the chest, and Ben Hardy really wasn't. So,
but we don't know whether he shaved. He could have shaved it for Lauren. Maybe Lauren didn't like a hairy boy.
Is that really a thing?
Well, it kind of explains why he's suddenly chest very hairy.
Hair. Frankly, I'd have either Peter. I ain't fussy. I don't
mind. Bring it on. Just have any Peter you want. You'll pick of the Peters. So, because of Max's leaving this week, which we will discuss after the game, this game is a very, very special game based on the Brannings. So it's time to go and play Every Branning Counts. So, Rob, we are going to play Every Branning Counts, a special game for Max Branning to commemorate his 15 years on the show. For anyone who lives in the UK, you may remember a game show called Every Second Counts, where you have to gain time to play in the final round. This is exactly what we're doing here. So the first round, Rob, is I'm going to ask you a question which you can give me multiple answers to. For each answer you give me, you get 3 seconds of time to use in the final game, up to 30 seconds. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Every Branning counts. So.
Alex is 50, I discovered yesterday, which explains why he knows this show.
Oh, it's a classic. I mean, let us know, guys, if you've ever watched this game show. I've blooming loved Every Second Counts. Right, so, Rob, can you name 30 seconds family members related to Max Branning who is either a mother, father, brother, sister, or children? 30 seconds starting from now.
Okay, Abby.
Yes.
Abby.
Yes.
Lauren.
Yep.
Cora. Tanya. Jack. Oscar.
Hang on. I need to keep up it. Oscar, Jack. Yep, keep going.
Ava.
No.
Tanya. Rainey.
Yes. No, not Rainey.
Why?
Because that's a wife.
It's a sister of Tanya. Anyway.
Yeah, but it's not Max's brother or sister.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it has to be off Max, right? Okay.
Yeah. That's what I said.
Shut your face. Jim.
Yep. I'll give you that one. Time is up. I'll give you that one.
All right, 8. That's not bad.
I've got 5. Go through the ones you said you had.
I remember.
Okay,
Abby and Abby.
You got Abby. That's a grandchild, so it doesn't count. So you got Abby.
Oh.
Lauren. You got Oscar. You got.
Yeah.
You got Jack Branning, and you got Jim Branning.
And that's all you're giving me.
Well, that's all you got. You could have had his mother, Renee Branning.
Okay.
You could add I would have accepted his stepmother, Dot Cotton.
Oh,
brother, Derek Branning.
Derek, for God's sake.
Or one of his sisters, Carol, Susie, or April.
Oh my God, I forgot Carol. I love Carol.
Yeah,
I always forget that Carol and Max are related. I don't know why.
Because Carol's such a pure heart and Max isn't. And you missed one child, Bradley.
Oh, he's dead. No, I did forget him. That's shameful. I haven't had enough tea. I'm really embarrassed. Right, we're going to re-record that whole section again. Yeah.
No, you did all right actually. 15 seconds, but it's going to be a bit tight at the end round, so we're going to have to be really quick on this one. All right. So you got 15 seconds this time on this round. Okay. Now, in this round 2, we're using the time accumulated for you to answer a single question. So I will read a name of a female character who Max Branning has either slept with, had been in a stable relationship with, or had married. When I name the female character, you must say shagged, stable, or married. Does that make sense?
Christ. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So when I say the name, you have to say shagged for if they've just slept with them, so there's no relationship involved. Just
one night stand or something.
That's right. Yeah. Stable if they had a relationship of some sort.
Yeah.
Or married.
Okay.
Okay. 15 seconds. You have to answer 10 to win the game.
I can pass. Yeah.
You can pass, but if I was you, I would just give a guess.
You do a guess, right? Okay, I get you. Right,
So shagged, stable, married. Okay.
Go.
15 seconds. Here we go. I'm going to give them thick and fast. It's like the chase, thick and fast. Here we go.
Love it.
Okay, here we go.
So on edge. Okay.
So time starts now. Emma Summerhays.
Stable.
Stacey Slater.
Shagged.
Lucy Bill.
Shagged.
Fee Browning.
Ooh, stable.
Rainey Cross.
Married.
Roxy Mitchell.
Shagged.
Ruby Allen.
Shagged.
Time.
No, stable.
Oh, time is up. The ones you got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You got 7. It's very good.
It's all right. Not too bad. Out of 10.
Out there, there's 12 I had, but you need to get 10 to win. Just in case you did get one wrong, you see. I'll go through the rest of them. There was Tanya Cross, married.
That would have been married, yeah.
Karen Smart.
A shag.
Kamal Kazemi.
Stable.
Yeah. Vanessa Gold.
Stable.
And Kirsty Branning.
Unstable, let's be fair. And married, I think, wasn't it, Kirsty?
They were married. That was his third wife.
Oh, what?
You did very well, actually. To be fair, if you
really
just got
annoyed.
A little bit extra time in the first round, you would have done better.
Yeah, well, if you'd have let me have a few of my answers, I would have done.
You did very well, Rob. 7 out of 10.
I like that game. We'll do that again.
Yeah, we could do it with a different character each time. But
Yes.
it means changing the name each time. But that's fine. No one will know.
Every Mitchell counts.
Yeah, that's it. Shh. No one needs to know. No one needs to know. Let us know how you guys got on with that game. And if you have any suggestions of any rounds we could play, just get in touch with us by emailing me at alexwalfordweekly@gmail.com or robwalfordweekly@gmail.com. And that was Every Branning Counts.
That was a good game, Alex. I liked that.
Yeah, I'm glad you did.
Do that again.
We should. We definitely should. Right. It was goodbye to Max this week. Is he going to be missed in your heart? I need to ask straight away.
I will miss Max as a character, I think. Yeah, obviously Max is not the most likeable person, but he's never been the most likeable person. He's got... I kind of have enjoyed Max and just seeing how rubbish he can possibly be in life and how low he'll go and how desperate he can get. He's been a fascinating character over the years. So I kind of thought, actually, this, considering everything that Max has done over the years, I thought this was a really, really subdued exit for him.
I've heard a lot of people say that, but I really liked Max's exit. I really did. And I know a lot of people say, oh, only because they put a Julius theme to it. And yes, that was lovely. It was nice that they did do that. And it was nice that they finally used the Julius theme.
It was nice.
But
and deserved as well.
Oh, 100%. But it just goes to show that other characters who also left deserve it. And also makes me think that Kush isn't going to end up getting a Julius theme, but that's for
Definitely
another...
not.
I know.
Well, his mother didn't, so why should the son?
That's for another podcast. But I thought it had this kind of, and I said this to you earlier, this melancholic kind of ending. I thought it suited Max. It was almost like he's left before where he's had nothing to stay for, but this time it really felt like he left with nothing, but also left with the dignity that to a degree.
I didn't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I did enjoy it. I really enjoyed Friday's episode particularly. Double Simon Ashdown episode. So
boom.
And he knows he created Max. So he knows Max inside out. So if you have any writer's going to have Max's exit, then it was going to be Simon Ashdown. And of course, because he also was quite integral in the whole Stacks storyline, Stacey and Max thing, you can always tell when it's a Simon Ashdown episode, because at some point there will be a Stacey and Max theme because he loves them as characters. Fair play, because he writes them really well.
Yeah.
There was this really nice scene on Thursday with them sort of talking about Bradley and like the sharing of the photograph, which I could totally buy. Stacey having this photo in her purse all these years, and giving it to Max, and then there was the symbolic little thing of the photo falling to the ground and landing where Bradley landed and where half of Max's children have landed at some point. And the only thing I could say was, it's like you say, there's been several moments throughout Max's history where this sort of exit would have been totally justified. After the whole Wayland stuff, and literally everybody on the square hated him, and people were saying, you should go. And Max was like, no, I'm going to stay and build myself up again. And this time, he gets turned down by Linda. A few people say to him, just go away. No one wants you here. Just go. And he's like, well, all right then, I will. And then leaves.
Yeah, it was like a mob of people, though. First Jean said, actually. Jean, a drunk... And Gideon,
I love drunk Jean.
Well, and Gideon, her thievery this week from Sukimar. Her Thelma Louise with Sharon. I love that Sharon also had some day drinking involved this week as well. It's like
with drunk Sharon's always a highlight.
Oh, absolutely. But so there was Jean, there was Linda, there was Jack. They all said to him, there's no point being here anymore. You might as well just go. And I don't think they meant it, especially Jack meant it too maliciously. But I don't know. It just, for me, it felt right. It felt like
I'd argue that Jack. Time. I mean, Jack appeared to be the only one that was remotely upset by the prospect of Max leaving, despite the fact that since Max has moved into that house, he's been literally nothing but absolute carnage for Jack's life.
But he's been trying to chuck him out the whole time as well. The
whole time, since day one. All right, well, you should probably go now, please. Yeah, like, you're only supposed to come round for a cup of tea. What are you doing here still? Obviously, Max ends up getting Jack suspended from work, so that's sort of like a final nail in the coffin.
I'm
Jack's
sorry,
quite happy
but that was Jack's own fault.
Deserved.
That was Jack's fault, 100%. He should never have shared that information
completely.
with Max whatsoever. What did he honestly think? And again, we said this last week. What did he honestly think was going to happen there? Of course, Max was going to go straight to Linda, and of course, he was going to say that Jack was the one who told him the information. It was obvious. It was plain as day. So for Jack to all act like, well, I can't believe you did that, Max. It was like, oh, shut up, Jack. You're meant to be an investigator. You're meant to investigate things. Investigate that. It's like, don't be a prat. But what made me laugh most was that Jack then followed it up with, I've spent 2 years trying to get a good reputation at Walford, Nick, and I finally got one after having a real bad one the first time round, and I really worked hard for it, and now you've ruined it. Wow, 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 how dare you? And I was like, oh, shut up, Jack. Shut up. You've not got a good it's all smoke and mirror. You let people think that you've got this good rep at the Walford, Nick, but we all know, you've been sharing secrets left, right and centre. Look what he did with Keegan, for God's sake. He did that.
Yeah, he's a terrible copper.
Yeah.
Awful copper. It's no wonder that Callum's got such a great teacher, really, is it? Yeah, and then sort of like, I think Max sort of goes around because at the start of the week, this is the one thing that did confuse me, because he got hold of the dongle that contains the life and love of Phil Mitchell, the memoirs of Phil. How did he know that existed? Was there a scene that I've forgotten about?
Well, first of all, we weren't given any hint, because we were meant to think that the reason Max was going on this mad rampage around Jack's house is because he was looking for evidence against Linda and Mick, or Mick more.
I didn't even come to that conclusion. I was like, what the hell is he looking for?
That's what it was meant to be, but there was nothing kind of leading to that. And then, yes, as you say, then he looked at a photo.
Pulled it off the wall, and this dongle's just sat there, like sort of safe combination.
Yeah, he just seemed to know, didn't he? He was like, "Oh, there's a picture. Of course, that's where Jack would have put it." Yeah.
If I was Jack, where would I hide a dongle?
I mean, Jack is rubbish, isn't he? He is absolutely rubbish. Why did he hide that? Again, I suppose there is some kind of argument that if you hide something in plain sight, it's a bit more tricky to kind of. It's almost less noticeable.
Just put it in a drawer.
I know. You
don't need to pull a picture off of a frame and because if I discovered, if I was in someone's house and accidentally knocked a photo off a wall or something, and then there was a dongle attached to the wall, I'd be like, well, I'm having that. I want to see what's on that, But yeah, I don't like I say, I don't know. Did I miss a scene when Max found out that this thing existed? Because all of a sudden he was fully aware of what he had in his possession, went straight round to Phil and was like, right, so you're going to get the Vic back for me, and the Carters are going to get back in there, and then Linda's going to get back with me, or you're going to prison for a very, very long time, mate.
Yeah.
Ha, 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 ha. And Phil was like, okay, then fine. But then there was another scene where, Phil had convinced Sharon to sort of give the Vic up, and then Max walks into the Vic, Phil comes downstairs and goes, right, I've sorted it, give me the dongle. Max is like, very well, sir. Hands the dongle over.
Yeah, no contract.
No,
just nothing. A gentleman's agreement. A gentleman's agreement with Phil Mitchell isn't
and
really
I've watched enough
much.
episodes of Judge Rinder to know that means nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Just quickly talk about Phil, because Phil's been having his cake and eat it somewhat, because he's still flirting with Sharon, kind of giving her the impression that he still wants to get back with her. Now it seems obvious to me that he's doing that just because he wants to manipulate Sharon into basically getting him out of trouble with getting him out of trouble with Max. But he's also sleeping with Kat behind Sharon's back.
We will talk about the Phil and Kat thing in a minute. I mean, that's nuts. For a start.
Yeah, but how do you feel about Phil manipulating Sharon in such a way that he's literally using her emotions?
That's the thing he hasn't done before, though, is it?
Yeah, but it's horrible. He even used Denny at one point. He said, give up the Vic because Max has got this, that, and the other on me. Oh, and it's probably something that Denny would want you to do because of all the ghosts that you have. It's like,
at the same
Phil.
time, yeah, I know, but at the same time, to give Sharon sort of her independence as a person, as a human being, she's known Phil long enough to know that that's exactly what Phil does. If anybody on the whole square knows Phil Mitchell, it's Sharon. She should know the methods that he will use to get what he not even wants, but what he thinks he needs to sort of keep his head above water. And if that includes manipulating everybody that's close to him, then fair play. And she knows that because she's experienced it enough times.
Yeah, but I feel like Sharon. I really do feel like Sharon has been really tired out, really like the wind knocked out of her sails this past few months. And I just think that something like this is slipping her by some, Sharon from a very strong Sharon would never have let Phil stand her up at the restaurant. And all it took was for Phil to kind of pop his head round the Archer's door and say, oh, sorry about that, maybe another time. And Sharon was like, oh, okay, had a little cry and then walked off. I feel like Sharon has had a few knockbacks recently that perhaps she, even if she is aware that Phil is manipulating her, she's just kind of just letting it by. And I worry. I just don't like the way that Phil was doing it, especially the fact that he's been gushing so much about how Dennis is everything to him. He's like his son that he never had, and blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden he's using Dennis's legacy as a way of manipulating and kind of molding Sharon into giving up the Vic for his greater gain. It's like that's a real sick move for Phil, and I know that you should expect it from him, but I wasn't very happy. I wasn't very happy to see it happen.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but at the same time, none of it really surprised me. This is the thing, and it just seems to be par for the course with Phil, and par for the course with Phil and Sharon. That's just a ridiculous relationship that they have. One will get one up over the other. I think it's supposed to represent some sort of Burton and Taylor-esque type of relationship, isn't it? Where they're just awful for each other, but they'll never be apart.
Were you surprised that Mick had such a reaction to discovering the news that Max now knew about, the investigation with the police, that Linda hadn't said anything to him? He was quite hurt by that because Linda, again, they did their
No more secrets.
Yep, that again. And he said he felt like Linda was kind of patronising him a little bit and kind of treating him with kid gloves. And,
I felt that was more to do with the fact that he'd settled over the fact that Max had intruded on his marriage, but then Max intruded on something that he was really, really sort of still very much involved with the Katie stuff. The fact that Max knows about that is letting Max further into Mick's life and further into sort of Mick's psyche in a way that he was comfortable with. So I think that was the final straw, which resulted in such an extreme reaction from him. But to be fair, it was a perfectly valid reaction because Max did what Max always does. And as soon as he's confronted in the Vic, Max starts getting all sort of leery and go, "Oh well, she's with you. It's pity." He's given one of Mick Carter's special punches that involves him being punched and then going flying across the room into a table. With a bloody lip, in front of everybody, humiliated, which I think was then a catalyst for Max to sort of realise that everybody thinks he's scum. So he'd made it up his mind then and there to sort of make a move to go away.
Like you said, though, Max has had people think he's scum in the past. So do you think that was the main catalyst, or do you think there was other things, leading up to that?
I mean, I think the main thing is whilst they haven't really discussed it, I think it's fair to say that Max is suffering from major depression. as well.
Big time, yeah. Which is why I wish that they kind of did a story with Max and Bobby.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. Because essentially everything that Max was saying and everything that Max has done has suggested that he's really going through the ringer mentally in terms of he's still clearly not over Abby's death, understandably. He realises that he's got absolutely nothing. His whole thing with Linda, I think, was basically just clinging on to anything to make him feel loved. I don't think that Max really does love Linda. I think he loves the idea of being in love at this stage. Yeah,
because he is a romantic old Max, isn't he? For all his flaws, I know he sleeps around a lot, but he's got that romance in him, I think. And I think he always wants to. I don't know when he was younger whether he didn't have a proper mother figure, perhaps, but I don't really know if that was being investigated. We know that Jim was a bit of a bully toward his kids, but. Is that something that Max felt like he was missing then? And so he always used to attach himself to women all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea, I think Max likes the idea of women being in love with him as well, which is why he's become such an expert over the years of sort of managing to get women into bed so easily. Because there's got something Max has about him makes him irresistible to so many women. But yeah, ultimately Max decides to leave and does that thing that I love when characters leave EastEnders, especially when they've been there for years and years and years. They realise, yes, you're right, I've got nothing. I must leave with my one suitcase because I don't even have possessions.
But he doesn't, though, to be fair. Max lives with his brother in a one bed.
Yeah, but he must have more than to fill one suitcase.
I don't think he does.
Yeah, it was the same with little Abby, who was trundling along behind with her little suitcase.
With her little trunky.
Honestly, she looked like she was having the time of her life, a little girl. Like, she was just like, oh my God, I'm so important in EastEnders right now. She was loving life.
Even though he took baby Abby away from Rainey was very upset, distraught, but she said to Stuart, I don't want any violence, I don't want any anger or any conflict between in front of Abby. I'd rather that she just goes, which was a lovely moment, I thought, with Rainey, because
growth for Rainey.
Absolutely. Rainey really grew up with that. Max, as he was walking past their flat above the funeral parlour, baby Abby pointed and went, better place to be. Don't want to go with you. The 3-year-old.
Not Grandad Max.
3-year-old knew what she wanted, and Max knew as well. Yeah. I must admit, I laughed out loud where you heard the knock on the door and you just saw baby Abby stood there with her suitcase.
Baby Abby just stood there. Hi.
Hi, Mum, it's me. I thought that was wonderful.
It comes to. Again, though, it goes to point out Max's sort of mental state at this point, that he's more happy to sort of leave his granddaughter with a ex-prostitute, drug addict, and a psychopath like Stuart. That's fine. Do you know what I mean?
They're a safer pair of hands. A safer pair of hands.
But again, that says a lot about what he thinks about himself, though, as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So I feel like amongst all of it, there was sort of an avenue to be explored. Like, we've dealt with Max's mental health before, when he was self-harming with the cigarettes and all that kind of thing, and the fact that I feel with Max, each sort of traumatic event that has happened to him over the years has had a visible effect. Like, you get some characters that have all these horrific things happen to them, but at the end of the day, like Sharon, for example, but at the end of the day, they are still sort of the same character. Whereas Max feels like each event has had a massive effect on him over the years, resulting in the sort of shell of a human being that we're left with by the end of Friday's episode.
And the way that Max left actually made me, for the first time in a long time, wish that Max wasn't leaving the show, which was really strange. It actually made me really like the character again. So I think that was a little part of why I enjoyed the ending too. It made me like Max again, because I kind of thought, you know what, yeah, you're an all right guy.
I am going to miss him. He's not, he's a deplorable human being, but I think he's one of these characters that is just fun to watch him just disintegrate in front of our eyes. Yeah. And what it also means, however, is that there is now just one Branning left on the square, and it's Jack.
Yeah, I know.
Great.
But then I suppose there's never really been a huge Branning base for a long time, has there? I mean, there's also Tiff, don't forget. Tiff is like, what, the cousin? No, niece to Jack.
Yeah, but she's Butcher, though, isn't she?
What, is that name or in physique?
Well, in name. But, yeah, I think it's a shame, because, we say it every week, the axing of Lauren and Abby was basically, I think, the beginning of the end for Max as a character. Because, ever since then, what has he really done? Storylines and growing and as a character and all that kind of thing. He's just sort of been there, and then since they've sort of decided to get rid of Max, then he's sort of gone in this direction of just basically preparing to leave almost.
Yeah.
And I think it's a shame, because of where Max Branning was, and just if you think about the history of the Brannings and where they were, and things like the massive Stacey and Max reveal on Christmas Day, how huge the Branning family were as a unit at one point, and now it's just been brought down to Max leaving and walking down the street with one suitcase, going God knows where for however long it needs, leaving just Jack. It's a bit sad, I think.
I agree. The thing is, though, having to think about it, there's not really many families where there is a big collection of them anyway.
No.
Really. They've really kind of cut down all the families to very small units here and there. It's interesting. Maybe Carol will come back and we'll have another Branning on the square soon. You never know.
Fingers crossed.
We touched on it in the Max story, and that is the... God, I can't even say... There's... Yes, it's Cat and Phil. I mean, there's a lot of people who are up for it. I'm not
Cat
sure.
Included.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Phil is meant to be this, he is meant to be like a stallion. He is meant to be really good in bed. Sharon has said on a lot of occasions. So I'm sure that Cat is more than happy to have this relationship. But do you think that they are naturally good together, Cat and Phil?
How do you go from Kush to Phil, for a start? For a start. I think it's... I don't... Okay. We've seen this coming for a while. It's sort of been in the pipeline for a while, because they can't just do a male and a female character who work really well together on screen and have good scenes together. Like, when they were doing the thing where Phil was pretending to be Malcolm and all that kind of thing. I mean, I loved it. I know you didn't like it as much, but I enjoyed those sort of comedy scenes between them. Comedically, Cat and Phil really work as a pairing. Romantically, it's a different matter altogether. It has shown us that Cat literally... we know Cat will sleep with anybody. Look at Derek, for example. So it's not like Phil is the first time that she's really sort of downgraded as such, is it?
No, I suppose not. To touch on what you said about there being the comedy value between Phil and Cat, I feel like their relationship is still got a little bit of comedy in it, because they seem to have that kind of like, oh, we're naughty children, as Cat kind of sneaks out. And in The Archers, where Cat was wearing like the overalls and she had
still got it,
beaming bosoms popping out of them, she was, I think there is still that kind of like a light element between Phil and Cat, which makes it very interesting because it does it give a bit of light to Phil's shade that Cat's now in his life. Do you think there is longevity between them?
I mean, I think my main issue with it is the fact that I don't understand how we got here. It
did seem to happen literally just 1 minute.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like, because the last time that we saw any sort of interaction between Phil and Cat, they were at Loggerheads. And then literally Cat walks into the Archers, demands that Phil gives her a car to go and get a foot spa or something. The car apparently breaks down, and Cat just goes up to him in the middle of the night when he's debating about to whether to go and have a date with Sharon, and says, "Well, the car broke down. You owe me for a foot spa, but I'll take any form of payment, basically." And Phil kind of goes, "Yeah, right." And the next time we see them, they're in the back of one of the cars in the Archers. Where did that come from?
A lot of the family, Ben and Kathy, I think, will be quite pleased that Phil may be looking for pastures new.
An alternative.
Yeah,
Sharon.
because Ben was quite vocal, but not as vocal as Kathy was with her, 7 boom, boom, boom insults, one after the other about Sharon. I mean, that scene just... I loved every minute of it. I mean, that was great. Like, Kathy just one after the other. Her toxic tongue.
She hates her.
Oh, she absolutely hates Sharon, isn't it? It's just...
Love it.
Yeah, fantastic. So do you think they'll be happy? Because Phil's keeping it a secret, but I don't know if he's keeping it a secret from his family just because he's still, as we mentioned earlier, wants to manipulate Sharon, or whether he's embarrassed to be with Cat. Do you think the family would be happy to know that him and Cat are together?
To be honest with you, I think they'll be sort of similar to how the audience is, just bemused by the whole situation. Because really, Phil sleeping with Cat doesn't really have much of an effect on the family, does it? If anything, the Slaters, I think, will be more worried about it.
Well, that's what I wondered, because obviously there's that history of Stacey. Stacey had to leave.
Yeah.
Well, this is when the maternity leave number 1 happened. Yeah. Stacey had to leave because she hit Phil around the back of the head with a spanner or wrench or whatever. And but there's other history between, the Mitchells and the Slaters.
Yeah, sorry, but is it even worth mentioning that this time, about a year and a half ago, Phil was in the Archers with Cat in a completely different mood, sort of yelling in her face and threatening to kill her before Stacey whacked him on the head with a wrench, and now they're sleeping together. It's like and acting like you say, like two school children. It's like, what? It's
a fine line between love and hate, I suppose. There's that argument there, yeah. In a way, I want them to be together until if they are keeping them together. I'd love them to be together for a Christmas meal. I'd love to see the Slaters and the Mitchells together for a Christmas meal.
Yeah, and that would be quite fun, because we've not had like a Mitchell lunch for a while. Those sort of messy lunches that just go so badly every single time that they have them, and things get thrown and all that sort of thing. Yeah. And no one's going to do that better than a Slater Mitchell lunch. That's going to be interesting.
How do you think Sharon feel about Cat and Phil? Because there
was this really random scene, wasn't there, between Cat and Sharon? Cat was sort of trying to persuade Sharon, you could probably do better, and Sharon just bit her head off.
Yeah, I noticed that. Sharon seemed to be really... Again,
sort of defensive.
Again, are they deliberately trying to write in that Sharon and Cat dislike one another? Story? Are they
again? Since when?
Exactly. Are they shoehorning a story between Cat and Sharon where we're meant to believe that there's always been in the background this kind of dislike for one another? Do you think that's where they're heading? Because I do.
Probably. It makes no sense though, because I'm trying to think of Sharon and Kat's relationship over the years. Has there even been much of one?
Not really. They've not really had much time together at all.
They don't do a lot together, do they? In terms of scenes or anything.
The Slaters really don't tend to have any interaction with Sharon at all.
No, apart from when Sharon randomly went round and stole Jean's medication. So
well, yes, that cracked me up, because as again we mentioned earlier, that Jean and Sharon had their heist.
Best mates all of a sudden.
Yeah, in the minute
mark. That was funny though, to be fair. That was brilliant. I enjoyed that a lot.
Oh, it was a good scene. I enjoyed that scene. I mean, it had 2 characters that I absolutely love in it, which is Jean and Sharon.
3 characters.
Oh, I'm sorry, Suki. I'm sorry to sideline you. I beg your pardon, Queen Suki, as well, was in the scene. And so, it was a wonderful moment between them. Can I just say, that minute mark looks very bare. It doesn't look... I mean, I know we're meant to believe that it's meant to be...
It looks minimalistic.
Yeah, and I know that we're meant to think that this
Suki will not be argued with.
Yeah, but you say it's meant to be classy, and Suki says that she wants it to be a classy joint. But if you look, a lot of the things on those shelves are stuff that you buy from Tesco. So if it was Waitrose products or M&S, then I'd completely understand. But they're not.
Southern fried chicken nuggets is not to be sniffed at.
Well, no, that's true.
Or whatever Karen was forced to buy in something like that, wasn't it? So, yeah, I mean, the Cat and Phil stuff, God knows where it's going. I'm just irritated by it because I was really enjoying how Cat and Phil were together when they were at loggerheads with each other, or when they were being forced to work together. These two people that didn't seem to really like each other that much, but had one of those really sort of classic, natural, organic, funny relationships on screen. I was really enjoying that. And now this feels forced, which to me doesn't work as well. I'm prepared to be corrected and for this suddenly to be the best relationship that there has ever been anywhere in any soap whatsoever. It's not like Steve McFadden and Jesse Wallace are bad actors. They can do any material that's thrown at them. I don't know. It feels weird at the moment. It just feels really strange. Why are you sleeping together? It's like as if you suddenly pulled two names out of a bag and put two characters together. Right, they're going to sleep together now.
I think a lot of people are behind it, to be fair. But I'm with you. I just think that once it comes out, once it becomes more common knowledge, Phil will feel almost embarrassed to be together with Kat. At the moment, it's a bit of fun, and I think once people know about it, I think Phil will be, because I think Phil sees Sharon as a bit of class on his arm. You know what I mean? While Kat is a bit common for old Phil. So we'll see. We shall see. One last story is between Lucas and Chelsea. It's a really quick one. Right at the beginning of the week, Lucas and Chelsea had a bit of a chat. And again, they kind of grieved their differences once more, and Chelsea opened up and said, you were never there when I was a child, and I never got to experience a movie night with my dad where we'd have chocolate milkshakes, burgers and fries, and then the next
busy out murdering people,
exactly, and praying, and then the next minute Lucas invites Chelsea over, and what should be on the counter side but burger, fries and a chocolate milkshake and a couple of DVDs.
Ka-ching.
Yeah.
Chelsea had a massive grin on her face. Yeah,
I was going to say, it made Chelsea beam from ear to ear. Yeah, really, really good. So do you think Lucas is up to no good? Do you think he's he's trying to trick Chelsea?
I don't know. It's weird with Lucas. Like we've said a few times, it's kind of like Psycho Lucas is still there because they've made it very obvious that Psycho Lucas is still there. Because, when the sound effects play, we know that the character's losing it internally. When we're not seeing Lucas, he's sat alone in his flat with all this booming and stuff going on around him. So it's kind of like, it feels like someone's going to end up getting hurt quite soon, doesn't it? If this is supposed to be sort of calm before the storm type thing. Because presumably this Lucas story, as mad as it's been from start to finish, is going to end up in some weird, trippy, sort of cataclysmic finale before he leaves and Chelsea sort of becomes regular resident again.
Well, that's what's strange about it. They seem to be keeping Lucas on for longer than we actually all thought. I was under the impression, especially by the way they were kind of writing up that Lucas was returning, that it was only meant to be a very short stint. And I wonder if they've extended it to kind of accommodate to the story for Chelsea. Maybe
it's gone down so well.
I know. I mean, we don't mind it. We always say it's a nut story.
We take the mick out of it. We take the mick out of it, but it's kind of like we're accepting it for what it is, I think.
Yeah, and again, it's because it's being portrayed by some wonderful actors. New Chelsea is fantastic. Lucas is great. Denise is brilliant. I mean, it feels like I don't mind the nuttiness of the story too much, and so I'm okay with it, kind of it carrying on a bit longer. But
I'm over it now. Yeah, now it's one of those things that I think once you get through the quagmire of difficulties that are the fact that the story makes no sense to even exist. Once you're over that, then you can kind of just enjoy the madness that you're watching. There's clearly a lot still to be sorted with this story. Chelsea and Denise relationship that I think you could hardly call their relationship repaired at the moment, could you? Eventually getting rid of Lucas. There's the comeuppance of Caleb / Kevin, and all of this to put to bed to get. So we've still got, I think, at least a month or so left of Lucas's story.
It's not going to take one small meal for Chelsea to forgive Lucas.
One burger. She's easily pleased.
Well, this is what I mean. A beef patty, and maybe that's what Kevin did. Bought her a Burger King, and that was it. She was like that. Yeah, I'll traffic drugs for you, not a problem. Can I quickly talk about, and it's a story that actually hasn't happened this week, but there's a lot of discussion behind it. There's been a lot of hinting that Isaac has got some kind of illness somehow, and Cherie has kind of openly admitted it on screen that she feels like she's been looking after Isaac all this time. There's rumours going around that he might be HIV positive, and I just wondered your take on how you would feel if that was the story.
Haven't heard this. interesting. I'm trying to think last time. I mean, Mark, obviously, but I don't think EastEnders has done it. Has EastEnders done it since Mark?
I don't believe so. If they have, it's been
have they? Very fleeting sort of. Well, no,
character.
Yeah, it's been very fleeting. It would be interesting to see, and I think it would be the sort of story that soaps need to do to put a lot of misconceptions to bed, which are still around.
Oh, 100%.
So that would be good. I'd welcome it and applaud it.
Why?
And AIDS in the papers a lot at the moment because of the drama It's a Sin. If you haven't watched that, viewers, watch it. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So I think it would be a really good discussion point as long as it was all done well. And
the discussion at the moment is that obviously when the story was done with Mark Fowler, the medicine, the way it was treated was a little bit different than it is today. I mean, today it's not curable, but it can certainly be stabilized. You know, you can live a full life. There's not a problem. But when Mark had it, obviously it was a much more different situation. How I would like them to do it is if the rumours are true, is that they would have Isaac maybe got it at a very young age, and so he's gone through the kind of like the torment of having to kind of seen like medicines go through, having to think that he was going to die, you know, very young. You know, the smallest thing, the smallest illness could eventually kill him, give him melatonin, and then bit by bit, you know, he'd be very unwell.
I think it'd be interesting. I'd like to see a character like Isaac, and especially if he's going to start dating Lola, someone with, let's be fair, Lola's sort of limited streetwiseness, and I don't want to say intelligence, but I'm going to say intelligence, to like sort of faced with that in a boyfriend, I think would be a really interesting character story for her. Actually, I'd quite like to see sort of how Lola would process that and how she'd deal with it. And actually, what I don't think has ever been discussed in a soap, which would be really interesting, is looking at, like you say, people that you can have sex and discuss that part of it.
Yeah.
Sort of the medication, what's possible with the medication, how people live their lives now, and how it affects their relationships on a day-to-day basis, especially when sort of the wider community becomes aware of it. There's a story there. I'd like it. Probably means we're not getting it. But yeah, I'd be up for that.
I'd be up for it, and I think it's a discussion that, as you say, has gone very quiet because of It's a Sin. It's been opened up again, but I think it's that's almost like a historical discussion. Like, this is what it used to be. It'd be interesting to know what it's like today, a modern day take on it. So yeah, I hope the rumours are true. Actually, I think that'd be a really wonderful story to talk about. Anyway, that was the week of EastEnders. We have had some comments from you guys on our Twitter, Instagram, and our Facebook group, and we're going to read a couple of them out right now on I Ain't One to Gossip.
You know me, I ain't one to gossip.
So thank you again once more for sending us your comments. We really do appreciate getting them and reading them. And I'd love to read your take on the show because it gives us a kind of a rounded view of what you guys think. Anyway, here's a few on our Twitter. At eKitchener97 says, I was shocked to hear a Judy's theme, but happy Max got it for his exit. Abby and Max scene added with the Judy theme got me all emotional. I'm confused as to why Linda and Mick have got the Vic back again, but Abby with her suitcase was so very cute. I mean, I did love her trunky. I loved her trunky.
That's true, actually. We didn't really discuss the fact that Mick and Linda now have the Vic back.
Well, do they? We did say briefly that it will Phil keep to his word, because I don't think he will. And I think he'll be like, ha ha.
Well, I think Mick's kind of come around to the idea. But then this is the thing, the whole reason why they left the Vic in the first place is because Linda's an alcoholic. Yeah. So I don't understand why he'd suddenly be like, yeah, let's go back to the Vic. It's a great idea. You're all right now, aren't you, Elle, babe? It's all right. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
At Rumours. That's the At Rumours on Twitter says, I wish that's the name.
Oh God.
Right.
At Rumours, what's Rumours got to say?
He says, I wish they gave us more mentions of the past characters. Surely when Max and Jack were talking, they could have brought up Max's relationship with his dad, Jim, Tanya, Carol, Lauren, and Abby. Glad that he had scenes with Stacey, though, and that Bradley photo.
Yeah. Simon Ashton created Max, and no other writer should have got these episodes. But it's like, you know, he would have got that story document and has tried to, like, he did his absolute best, because that's what sort of I will praise Simon Ashton to the cows come home, because he's an amazing writer. He was given this story and managed to turn that story into Friday's episode, which was, like you say, melancholic and sort of moving in places, and really sort of nailed Max's character and gave us all these sorts of moments of Max history over the years, quite subtly, like the photo, the Stacey and him scene. Yeah, it's just, I think it's just a shame that there wasn't just more people around that Max is close to for him to have those moments with.
But that would have meant obviously reintroducing them, and I think again with COVID in mind and bits and pieces, I think it was a bit tricky for them to do that. I mean, if for what the situation they were in, I thought the exit was fine. I thought it was quite good.
It was good. It was a good exit. It was a good exit. I was happy with that. And yeah, Julia's theme, it was really nice to hear again, and Mac deserved it. So. Good.
And finally, Rachel Richardson on our Facebook group agreed. She said, was a sweet scene with Abby at the end, and the Julia's theme was good. I'm glad Abby is staying with Rainey and Stuart. Wish Max would have had a bigger exit storyline, but I reckon he'll be back in a few years.
Let's hope so.
I
got an email from Michelle Lewis who said, hi Rob, well, goodbye and best wishes to Max, with a heartbroken emoji. I will miss him so much, and Jake Wood was absolutely excellent. Life was not kind to Max. It made him something of an insecure goofball who just makes bad decisions. All the Max haters out there can't say that others in the square haven't done the same and worse. True. Ian stole all of his money, and that was the last straw. Mr. Wood brought us an intense and complex, tragic character, and the show is forever diminished without Max.
Yeah, I mean, we must also, and I don't think we have given a mention to Jake Wood. I mean, he portrayed that character for 15 years.
He's a phenomenal actor.
Absolutely. He did really well with that. And, he really made Max. So I hope Jake Wood is listening. I don't think he probably is, but if you are listening...
Hi, Jake!
Hello, Jake! If you are listening, then honestly... I'm excited. I'm doing what those.
Come have an interview.
Come and have an interview with us. But also, we're giving you a congratulations. You really did portray Max Branning perfectly, and perhaps the writing wasn't to your cup of tea near the end, but you still gave it your 100%.
And he made it convincing. Absolutely. I think it's not. I don't think it's a massive secret that Jake Wood wasn't overly keen on the final sort of months of his character. He went on Lorraine, didn't he?
He did. He had a bit of a
Lorraine. Was it Lorraine? Yeah, Lorraine was like, "Oh, there's been a wee relationship between you and Linda." Lorraine being from Afghanistan now, and and Max was like, "Yeah, well, And Lorraine asked him whether he was in love with Linda, and Jake Wood's reply was, "Well, yeah, according to the script." So clearly, I don't think he was overly thrilled with it, but he portrayed the scenes incredibly well. He's an amazing actor, so I hope that it's not the last we've seen of Max.
I agree. If you guys want to get in touch with us again, you can on our Twitter, which is @Walford Weekly, our Facebook group, which is Walford Weekly Podcast, just search for that, and you can find us on Instagram @Walford Weekly as well. If you're listening to us on YouTube, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Every little bit of it helps. If you want to make a comment, just comment below underneath the video.
You can listen to us on Apple, Podbean, Spotify, or any of your favourite podcast sites. We will be back next week to discuss the goings on in our favourite London borough. Until then, goodbye.
Bye.